Walk in front, please.
This was Boris last June.
Morning.
It's absolutely clear that people from other European countries who are living here have their rights protected.
And today, the House of Lords upheld the same idea.
Contents 358, not contents 256.
But it's not the vote the government wanted. It takes away negotiating flexibility unless it's overturned. We'll examine the case for and against making promises to Europeans here in the UK. Also tonight.
That's it, Chris. It's war. War has broken up. This is a war.
That's it. Yes, it's war.
Programmes like this took a long time to get over, being satirised by Armando Iannucci like this in 1994. So how might he go about doing the same in the strange world of 2017? And how can we leave the EU customs union without having a hard border between the Republic of Ireland and the North to enforce it? And what happens then?
If you set up border checks, even if those border checks are 10 miles one side or the other of the border, you're setting people up in static positions that makes it incredibly easy to shoot at them. And as soon as they come out of those checks, they will be easy to shoot at.
Hello. The Lords have thrown the first spanner into the Brexit work so carefully constructed by the Prime Minister, voting to amend the Brexit bill to tie the government's hands by giving EU citizens here a guarantee of a right to remain. Now, the plain truth is there's little controversy over the substance. The government wants the EU residents here, just as the Lords do and the Leave campaigners in the referendum did. The issue is about whether you negotiate their guarantee of residence in return for assurances over the rights of the British elsewhere, or whether we make the guarantee unilaterally. Well, it was hard fought in the Lords today.
If we are to be concerned about anybody's rights after Brexit to live anywhere on this continent of Europe, it should be our concern for the rights of British people to live freely and peacefully in those other parts of Europe. Somehow or the other, today we seem to be thinking of nothing but the rights of foreigners. My lords.
All our debate has been based on the premise that somehow we will get what we want in the end because there will be reciprocity. But supposing there isn't, will we really at that point turn round to EU nationals in this country and say, on your way? Will we say, take your children out of the schools? Will we say to the elderly, please go away from our care homes? My lords, if this idea of it as a negotiating point, which I agree it is being used as, is totally unrealistic and totally unacceptable.
Well, the signs are the government will try to overturn the Lords' amendment. But for Europeans here, it's a bit fraught. Most have been here over 5 years and are already entitled to get permanent residency. But they have to fill out a huge form, go through various hoops, some are potentially impossible, and even then there's a good chance of rejection. So some kind of automatic recognition of a right to remain is key, and especially so for those who've been here for less than 5 years. Well, John Sweetney's been meeting some of those affected.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. As many of that opinion will say content. Content. The contrary, not content. Not content. Clear the bar.
Not the dog and duck, but the House of Lords tonight fired the first shot against the government's plans to deliver Brexit. Until the day before yesterday, well, the end of 2015, members of European Union states had a right to live in Britain. Enter the Home Office. The people who work in this building behind me came up with this. It's an 85-page form you've got to fill in. And people who've done that say the whole process is a nightmare. Brexit is beginning to bite in parts of Britain you would least expect. Welcome to Surrey's stockbroker belt. Aurelia Cave, originally from France, has applied for permanent residency repeatedly. Yesterday, she got her third rejection letter.
I was assured that I could send a certified copy of this passport, knowing they had the original previously. So this application was rejected on the basis that they needed the original of the passport.
But they had a certified copy.
Indeed.
Are they making life deliberately difficult for you, you think?
I feel like it really, yes. I don't understand the rejection. My kids are British, my husband's British. Never ask anything from them. I just want this card for reassurance, and I felt like I was dealt with really unfairly.
Aurelia is on the Neighbourhood Watch Committee. When two coppers came round to talk about a burglary, her youngest son thought the worst.
Lorenzo stood in front of me saying, "You're not taking my mom, you're not taking my mom," when he opened the door.
When the police arrived.
Yeah, because he thought they were coming to get me.
What would you like to create this time?
A giant.
A giant?
Yes.
Sabina von Turner is a midwife originally from Germany who's lived in Britain for 13 years. Her 8-year-old boy was born here. She hasn't been rejected. She can't even apply. You were training at the NHS.
That's right.
And you now work for the NHS.
Correct, yes.
But that doesn't count.
Well, because I've only started work 2 years ago in February 2015, and before as a student did not have this specific insurance, I now haven't got the years together, sufficient years to actually get my permanent residency document.
Did you ever imagine when you first came here all those years ago that it would end up like this?
No, I would never have imagined this. I've always thought, basically after 1989, that we would, free to go wherever we liked. I would never have imagined that I could end up being a second-class citizen and not that my rights could be questioned in any way. It makes me sad, disappointed, angry, and a bit helpless, although I'm trying to do something about it, but yeah.
How are you sleeping?
Not always that well. Depends. If I had a very hard day at work, I might just fall into my bed and sleep. But there are definitely nights where I'm kept awake because I'm thinking about my future.
NHS nurse Joanne Pons-Laplana has lived and worked in Britain since 2000. Do you consider yourself British or Spanish?
My passport say I'm Spanish, my heart say I'm British. And for the last eight months, I feel that my life is being put on hold, but that indecision that the government don't want to guarantee our right to stay. I feel that they took my voice away because I was not able to vote at the referendum. They decided my future without me. And for that reason, I feel a bit angry towards the government.
John Sweeney there. Well, Nicolas Attard is French, the co-founder of the pressure group The 3 Million, which campaigns for the rights of EU citizens who live in the UK. Peter Bone is the Conservative MP who co-founded the pro-Brexit campaign group Grassroots Out. Very good evening to you both. Nicola, your circumstances, you've been here a couple of decades.
21 years exactly.
Are you seriously fearful that you're going to be deported?
No, I am not fearful of... I'm not in a risk population, I think, but some people are. And I think that what we've seen today is a message of hope from Parliament, because finally we got majority in Parliament in the laws to say we're going to grant you the rights to stay. Right. But we worried because we never had this before. We never had the message from the top saying, yes, you can stay.
Yeah, I mean, it could well be overturned and then we're just back to where we were and we'll be invoking Article 50 in a couple of weeks and you won't have your guarantee.
Absolutely. But for some people, this is quite tragic because I think that they really feel that they're being rejected by the Home Office when they applied for the card or their permanent residence, and now they feel, well, what's going to happen to me if there's no guarantee?
Peter Bone, I just want you to imagine that we crash out of the EU after 2 years of negotiation. Let's suppose it fails and we crash out. And this is a possibility that the Prime Minister has talked about and the Chancellor's talked about. And no agreement is reached. And one country, one European country says, actually, we're going to kick the British back home now. What are we going to do?
The truth of the matter is, and we all know, and this is a little bit of a charade, is EU citizens here, certainly before 23rd of June, will be allowed to stay. And of course, you've already pointed out somewhat that if people have been here for 5 years, they have residency, and all the I saw those hard cases, but you know, if they popped down to the local MP, he'd sort it out for them. So it isn't 3 million.
Right. So
it's
why
a lot
don't,
less.
so why? I suppose the question is, if we all know, and we're not, when the Spanish say, OK, Brits, you go home, we're going to have an argument about Gibraltar, we'll send you home. We're not going to say, OK, 1 million Poles, you have to go back to Poland.
It's not going to.
Why don't we then guarantee, if you were here before June the 23rd or March the 15th, whatever date it is, you will be allowed to stay?
And of course, that's a perfectly arguable point. And I remember having a row with Will Straw and before the thing saying we were going to send everybody home who was here before.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it. I'll tell you, you said it's outrageous. This is the sort of lie that will destroy your campaign. There is no suggestion that people who are here will be sent home.
Exactly. And there's still no suggestion, is there? I mean, you're not really suggesting.
Why don't the government
then why? Well, there's two reasons.
No, I don't know why. Tell me why.
Well, there's two reasons. Can I just do with a technical reason? This bill is about invoking Article 50 and the will of the British people to tell Brussels that we're leaving. Nothing else.
Right. This doesn't contravene that. So, yeah, but OK. So
but you know, that's what that bill...
Give me the other reason.
And so it shouldn't be part of that bill. The only general principle of the thing is there are 1 million British people in the EU, and we're looking after those interests. And Lord Tebbit put it rather bluntly, didn't he?
How are we looking after the interests of British people in Spain?
To make sure that the argument goes that we will all agree this very rapidly. Now, the strange...
Sorry, but we haven't...
No.
Am I misunderstanding how negotiation works? If the Spanish used our people as a bargaining chip, you are saying that we will take Nicola or some others and threaten to send them home. But you've just told me we're not going to do that. We don't have a we don't have a bargaining chip. So why don't we just say it? If we know it, if we say it.
Well, you can make that argument. But Theresa May is a very sensible person. She likes to dot all the I's, cross the T's, and you know that that's what this is about.
Nicola, do you take the fact, well, you heard Peter Bone say it, and he's probably right. I think most people think he's right. They're not going to send people home because we need them to run the health service and do all the things they do. Does that give you any reassurance?
I think that Peter might not understand the environment for the hostile environment at the Home Office for any migrants or foreigners, including EU citizens now. I mean, we see this 85-page form. Well, I would fill the form, that's no problem. But there's a 28% refusal rate on that form, or rejection rate. And you know, we should all be able to stay. It doesn't matter whether we've got a certified copy of our passport.
Well, the truth of the matter is, if someone comes to see me at the surgery and the form is filled in wrongly, I help them get it corrected. That's about filling in a form. Nobody is going to pretend that anyone who's been here 5 years is going to be sent back.
There are people who've been turned down on the grounds they didn't have a continuous health insurance policy for the period they weren't at work.
Or they've been away for 2 years.
Well, it may not have been here, you see. If they've been away for 2 years and not been here. So all I'm saying is, the 3 million figure is wrong, but actually, the truth of the matter is all three of us around this table know that sometime in the next few months there will be an agreement with you. It's not us that's not agreeing to it, as you know. It's people in the European Union. It's the German Chancellor that doesn't want to agree to it. So if everyone agreed, it could be settled tomorrow.
But you've already said we're going to keep them anyway, Peter. So I come back to this really troublesome point, is I do not understand how, if Spain, say, uses our citizens there as a pawn in their fight with us over Gibraltar and send them back here, are we going to say to Poland, you're going to take 1 million of your Poles back?
Of course we're not.
Right.
And if you had an argument...
then you should just say, we're not going...
Would not the argument then be with Spain? Would not the argument then be with Spain?
Yeah, it would be.
And not with Poland.
A lot of immigration is, in fact, a national matter anyway, not an EU matter for the country.
And if we want to talk about Gibraltar, Spain better keep its hands off Gibraltar. My view is Gibraltar should be brought in with the protection of the United Kingdom, but that's another discussion, I guess.
Do you understand, Peter, though, the anxiety, the stress that people are actually feeling because they haven't got this certainty? I feel that my future stops in 2 years' time. I don't know what's going to be like afterwards. I need a status.
I'm here to reassure you.
Well, thank you for that.
My next-door neighbours are Polish, and the vast majority of people in this country who are from the EU know that they are... It's only people who are talking up the problem that are actually causing anxiety.
Peter Bone, Nicola Attal, thank you both very much indeed.